Chapter 47. She drove on as the surrounding tan and gray rocks gave way to reds and burnt umbers. This was the kind of distance and terrain that could kill. Sure, Sasha had doctors on staff, but the whole proposition of an isolated, counterculture outpost made Emily very nervous, especially with the type of experiments they ran. If even one person died on site, the feds would swarm her little elven frontier village, like angry wasps, multiplying the casualties regardless of how they proceeded. And with the way the 10 was increasing reaction times when paired with meditation and martial arts training, it would have been a bloody battle. Not to mention exposing all of their secrets and supplies to the Reggie world, perhaps sparking a much larger conflict, who knows. The whole scene had an apocalyptical atmosphere to it, almost as if Sasha knew subconsciously of an upcoming event, like a plague or a war, but was unaware that it drove her conscious decisions. And despite spending time helping Sasha with research and novel plant species, Emily always felt like a drifter, a stranger, clip-clopping into a high-strung, wary, and sometimes lawless town. And the energy on the whole ranch was palpable. Once, after a newbie meltdown, Sasha had called it dense and tense, which summed it up to a T. The place was bustling and productive, though, despite the overarching ambience. Everyone was always working on something, and all of it was simultaneously important yet esoteric. From remote viewing to empathic pattern recognition, entheogenic hybridization to, well, you name it. Restrictions were few. Absolute discretion was top of the short list. Violence or threats thereof were forbidden, and respecting absolute personal sovereignty necessitated each individual to take full responsibility for their actions. No scapegoating. Basically, the old do what you will but harm none. But with the loophole clause, unless you absolutely have to, in the fine print. Except, were the compound goers harming none? How could Emily even know all the possible ramifications of so much activity and experimentation? She forced all those recycled thoughts from her head as she leaned into a curve, causing Glutton to moan and creak like an old Spanish galleon. But, because she was Emily Anderson, worrywart extraordinaire, they popped right back into her brain as soon as she hit a straightaway. Great. She worried most about the teens hanging out at the ranch. Many were runaways or homeless, given a place to stay and flourish by Sasha. But they posed a security risk because, well, angsty teen, hello. And really, who belongs in such a strange place? Forced to keep secrets at such an impressionable age. In the last year, entire dirt families started getting involved at the ranch. Others caught the fever through word of mouth, replicating her intentional setup and structure across the nation, even overseas. Even their damn pets seemed hopped up on something or other. And pregnant women? What were the effects of the 10 on fetuses, on developmental stages? There was also the age of consent to consider as well. Would the 10 be available to kids when they reach puberty, a sort of herbal passage into adulthood? Or later in life, as they took on more responsibility, say 16, 18, 21, the old benchmarks? Despite assistance from the core AI suite Sasha had leased and kept offline in a permanent sandbox, those real-world questions would take generations to determine. And all of this would be academic if the program couldn't survive past Sasha's lifetime. Compounding all of this was her undying friendship with Sasha. It was the only real reason Emily kept schlepping back to the Revolution Ranch, as Sasha had finally named it. But Sasha was the only part of the thick, bomb-proof walls that felt like home. Everyone and everything else felt like filler, props, necessary risks and annoyances, just so the two of them could have some fun on the way to that damn rooftop. Finally, after the last dip on that long road, Emily's Subaru came over the crest and into the driveway. But when Glutton finally came to a stop, She just sat there for a moment as the car pinged and complained. "Wellness check," Emily belted out to Glutton. She was unamused and let out a coincidental hiss from under her hood to say so. "Are we actually doing this again?" she asked her royal self rhetorically. Then Emily let out a deep chuckle, the kind that is only known to those poor, stupid souls who would risk everything for a loved one. And as she laughed in her confusion, she heard Sasha's prophetic words as if she were sitting right next to her. "Look, all I know, all I've seen, is that you take this now, and we finally go find those damn seeds." "A damn book already written," Emily sighed in defeat and snapped a bead of the 10 from her bracelet. She chewed it under the waning daylight and rising moon, chasing it with electrolyte water. Wiping her mouth, she got out and felt the first stage kick in as her warm fingers closed the cold door. With gravel grinding under her sneakers, Emily walked past a couple of young attendants debating something around a barrel fire. Emily stepped up to the modest-looking yet armored door and waited as the cameras and sensors scanned her features. It popped open with a series of clicks and clacks, the cool air inside rushing against her hot, sweaty skin. After a deep, centering breath, Emily entered the rammed earth structure as the door hissed closed behind her.